exciting journey on the Roundtable Talk, we have featured a host of high-profile individuals such as cabinet ministers, permanent secretaries, directors, and a host of other high-profile guests. As we proceed with the Roundtable Talk, we would like to announce that it is now going mainstream. Yes, you heard me right. Going forward, the Roundtable Talk will be broadcast on Millennium TV, Channel 95 on the Topstar decoders, on YouTube, and as always on Smart Eagle's Facebook page. Join me every Thursday at 15:30 hours as I bring to you more and more exciting guests for more information, entertainment, and education. I'm Nakiwe Simpungwe, your host. She is a regional lead consultant, psychiatrist, and addictions specialist from the United Kingdom. Her name is Dr. Catherine Muyeba, and she is gracing the Roundtable Talk Tuesdays edition. Doc, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for having me.
Great stuff. How's the United Kingdom this afternoon, Doc?
It's actually sunny. There's no rain. The weather is lovely, so it's good.
Great stuff. We're also doing great here. The sun is out. It was a bit cold in the morning, but yeah, you know, the sun is out now, so we are doing great. So, Doc, you know, just tell us a little bit about your work. What exactly does your work involve?
Okay, so maybe I'll start a bit back. I trained in Zambia, so I'm a Zambian trained doctor, Ridgeway Campus, class of 1995. And I joined my husband here, where he was studying for his PhD, and this is of just over 20 years ago, and we've been here since.
Wow.
So I started training in psychiatry in the year 2000, and just was driven by a passion to help people, to speak into people's lives. When I was doing my 6th year, I loved the subject, and that's what I decided to do. So in terms of my current work, I'm specialized in working with adults with substance misuse problems as well as mental health problems. And with substance misuse, I look after children as well, so across the city of Manchester, doing assessments and treating and helping rehabilitate the adults and children and their families. So I work as part of a team, what we call a multidisciplinary team. So we've got GPs, we've got hospital doctors there, we've got nursing staff, social workers, the police where indicated, and we work closely with the prisons as well, the midwives, and a whole range of individuals who are involved in the person's care. And the ultimate goal is to make sure that we support and meet the needs of the individual involved. Hello?
Hi, Doc. Are you with me? Hello? I can't hear the Doc. What's going on? Doc, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I can't get anything she's saying. Cecilia, is it you? Doc, are we together?
Yeah, I can hear you, and I can.
Oh, wait! I wasn't able to hear you.
Yeah, there was.
Yeah, so I was saying, how has the work been going the past couple of years?
Okay, so the last couple of years we've continued to assess adults and children who have mental health problems and substance misuse problems. So we assess and we treat the different substances, drugs and alcohol, depending on what their needs are. And we work as part of the team with other professionals as well to ensure that there's a whole rounded approach for the individual and their families as well.
How rampant is drug abuse and alcohol abuse problem that side? Because I can tell you we have what I would call an outbreak of substance abuse and alcohol abuse, especially among the young people here in this country at this point in time. How rampant is it that side?
I think there's a recognition that the outbreak is global. Even here, we see a lot of young people using, especially the party drugs, which people can get from the internet. They sell them even on social media, and it's very easily accessible. So we see a lot of that, and we try and do some educational work with the schools so that people are raising awareness right from an early age and detecting when the problem starts. So yes, in the last few years, we've seen an increase in the use of drugs, but also alcohol in the young people. And when you look at the research, it's also in other African countries, not just in Zambia. Yeah.
Very true, Doc. Now, we in the last 2 days had a case on social media where a young lady was giving alcohol to a child. You know, it could be her child or not. We haven't yet been able to really establish whose child it is. But she was giving alcohol to a 3-year-old child, and this has sparked a lot of discussion and debate on Facebook, on social media. And, you know, it has really disturbed a lot of people. So, which actually has necessitated this discussion this afternoon. Just what frame of mind, you know, would you say an adult would be in for them to give alcohol to a 3-year-old child?
It was shown me by, you know, a part of the Medical Women Association of Zambia, and the chair lady sent me some of the images and information about it, and that as MWAS, we needed to do something. And I've read some of the comments from the public, and quite rightly, it is the right thing to do in terms of, you know, the uproar, because it's not right to be giving alcohol to a child. And the guidelines are that the children should not be exposed to alcohol. You know, the recommendation is that they start drinking over the age of 18. So in terms of the child, the uproar, you know, people concerned about the child, but my heart also went to the mother or the adult who was giving alcohol to the child. It's without understanding the full picture, it's difficult to explain that the behavior which appeared quite irresponsible. So the likelihood is that perhaps she was also drinking and there was some mood altering or mind altering on her part, perhaps maybe a little more than usual. We don't know what the circumstances were. I've seen some information that she has since apologized, I think recognizing the error of what she had done. But yes, it was really not a good thing to see. And the fact that it's on social media, so many people are watching, children are watching, people who are influenced by influencers are watching. So yes, it was a difficult one and not a pleasant sight.
I'll give you a short, you know, a brief background to this young lady on social media. She goes by the name Mrs. Kennedy. She, I think, shot to social media fame because there's also an outbreak of social media stars in this country. When she had a kitchen party, or Ichilanga Mulilo, something like that, where she went live and talked about her Chilanga Mulilo. She expressed a lot of joy and so forth and so on, but she received a lot of backlash from you know, the people that were watching that live video. She was bullied, you know, by people on social media. They said she was too excited and so forth and so on. But what interested me was her response to the bullying from the people on social media. She literally you know, said, you will not bully me. She refused to be bullied. She came out very strongly. She put up a fight against a whole lot of people that bullied her. And I was really impressed with the way she came out, because there's also an outbreak of, you know, cyber bullies across the globe. But with that fame that she got, because now she became a known name from that point, she started doing more live videos. she started, you know, going live more often. But then what we noted later was that most of the times she went live, it was drinking alcohol and driving at the same time. So this, you know, brought a different perspective. Again, people started to wonder what sort of a person she is. And in other instances, she would go on social media to sell her products, which was a good thing. But so there was this conflict about what exactly she stands for. And then just a few days ago, she also came on a live and she was dancing very explicitly in a video that again went viral, and which got a backlash again. Then just 2 days ago or 3 days ago, she was giving alcohol to a child. And what really angered people is the fact that this is a very young child who is being given alcohol, and it seems that the child is so... It's so easy for the child to be taking alcohol, which gave the impression that this child is probably being given alcohol a whole lot, and it's not just in that video that the child was being given alcohol. So it brings in a whole many dimensions. I think the people have been calling for the police to be involved, because they are saying this could be a very serious case of child abuse. So as a person's, we begin to wonder now, with all that we've seen from this young lady on social media, we begin to wonder, does a person's, for instance, upbringing have to do with the kind of, with the kind of behavior they present? What could be the reason that this young lady is doing what she's doing on social media? Excessive drinking whilst driving, partying, and so forth. What sort of frame of mind? And could it have to do with something to do with her upbringing?
First, I should start by saying, rather than discussing the individual involved, perhaps maybe we address this just in broad terms. I haven't had the opportunity to assess her to get an understanding of her background, but yes, sometimes our childhood experiences may impact how we behave in future. I'm not saying that this is the case in this particular individual. The other thing is the issue of bullying. So when people react the way that she did, that was a precipitant to something. We don't know what she was going through. We don't know how inwardly she responded to that bullying. Maybe it was something which was really stressful to her, and she acted that way, to show strength and so on. Maybe this is somebody who is really, really struggling and seeking somebody to support her, to help her. This could be somebody who is losing control for whatever reason, and the public is seeing it coming out openly like that. It could be anything, but without having to assess her and understand what is going on, it is a very difficult thing. So in terms of the child, yes, an incident like that does spark queries about what else could be. And in that case, if I was aware of that child and looking after that child's family, I would be asking a pediatrician to assess and check, is there anything else the matter with her? And regarding the lady herself, I would want to sit down and get an understanding of what happened, what happened to you? What is triggering all this? And could it be just alcohol, that when she's had alcohol, a lot of alcohol at that point, it leads to impulsivity and she ends up doing things that she wouldn't normally do when she's not drinking. So it's a lot of factors to consider, but at the same time, in a concerned way and in a caring way.
Great stuff, Doc. But what does alcohol do to the physical and psychological state of a child? Yeah.
So if we talk about what alcohol does to an adult, so as soon as you have a drink, it's one of those mind-altering substances. It affects the chemicals in our brain to change the way that even small amounts of alcohol have been known to start causing problems in terms of, harms like maybe damaging brain cells. And as somebody continues to drink on a regular basis above what is recommended to drink on a weekly basis, maybe they drink a lot of alcohol in one setting, those problems then start extending to other parts of the body. And then it gets to a point where your body now starts depending on alcohol. You have to have alcohol in order to function. Otherwise, you start getting what we call withdrawal symptoms, where you're sweating and shaking. And sometimes, depending on how bad it is, you can end up having fits or seizures, getting confused, having hallucinations and stuff like that. So if you think that alcohol can affect an individual, an adult like that, and it can, while it's still going on in the body, end up causing about 200 illnesses and some cancers. If it can do that to an adult, the level of damage on a young brain is much, much more. So whereas an adult can take a few bottles to get intoxicated, for a child, it's a small amount. And that small amount can lead to even a coma, alcohol poisoning for a child. So it's something worth thinking about and thinking it's just not acceptable to give alcohol to a child, and let alone in public, and other people might see that and think that it's okay to do that. So yes, there are harms when you give alcohol to a child, and more than what happens in an adult's body.
Great stuff, Doc. Now, I would like to, take you back to this lady. I know you want us to broaden, the discussion, not to specifically one, case. In this case, this lady, but it is a very interesting case, which I think there is need for a conversation around it. And what concerns me is she did go on, because, of the outcry, the following day she did go on Facebook and rendered an apology. But, according to many people, and this apology, they say, is it doesn't, sound sincere. So when you see such a thing, you begin to wonder, is it still going to continue? Is she still going to do that, albeit maybe she's not going to do it on social media this time? So what help is there for a person such as this lady who is involved in this case?
Yes, and yes, she has made that apology. She has talked about having counseling with various organizations. And what she says, we have to take her by the word. And I know that maybe people will say, well, you can't just believe what she says. Yes, one step is we can take her by her word, that she has apologized and is looking to change her ways. The second thing is that child has had alcohol or whatever was in that bottle, and we cannot forget that. So that child needs to be assessed and make sure that there's no other problems with the child, and to ensure that the child is safe. Then the third thing is about her. I know she's having counseling, the lady, she's having counseling, but what other assessment is she having? There is help when people have problems, but sometimes it's about acknowledging that there's a problem. So if there are people that you can confide in and talk with and highlight what could be the problem, and then maybe considering a health professional and discussing what else is happening to try and preempt any such behaviors happening again. Because if there is an underlying problem, and if she's perhaps maybe using alcohol to feel better to solve the problems, then there's a chance that the impulsivity could happen again and something similar could repeat itself. But then that's not to say that that's the case. But without assessment to get an understanding of what's going on with her, it's a difficult one.
There's a theory, Doc, that it could be excitement about being a social media influencer, because there's the very real issue of, when a person goes live on social media and they get a huge following, they get a lot of reactions to their post, it gives them some kind of, feeling, or, it takes them to a certain place, and this causes them to act in a certain way. Now, I have a comment, I took time to go on social media and just look at some of the comments from the people that commented on this issue. One, a gentleman called William Wapi, who is also a social media influencer in this country, said, "We are to blame, the case of Mrs. Kennedy, we are to blame. I don't blame this woman. I blame us, because when it comes to, you know, a person, he said this, he had an interesting way of putting it. He said when a person puffs once and we clap, they puff a second time and we clap, a third time and we clap, the fourth time they will poop. You know, the danger of social media is not the person displaying, you know, the bad characteristics. The danger is with us who clap for them. What is your comment?
Yeah, and I actually like the comment and the honoring of the responsibility about, you know, the followers, the people who are commenting and so on. It is an information age, and social media is here and it's here to stay. So there are benefits of social media and there are harms of social media, and we can see that. People are glued to those phones or computers or whatever the case might be, scrolling through, watching and liking, or well, most of them don't have the dislike button, but the comments that they're putting, it's almost like it's a world where you can go where you're not known and just leave whatever comment that you want to leave. And yes, there is a very high expectations on the people who are classing themselves as influencers. And they can get quite compulsive as well and use excessively to see what gives me more likes, what doesn't, and then try to do more of the thing that gives us more likes. And sometimes that may not be a good thing. It may be something which is leading to, you know, a reputational problem. It can be something which is causing harm to other people who are following you. Especially, I'm looking at some of the, you know, like the women social media influencers. Young people are watching, young children, young girls are watching every time, and we're raising the next generation looking at what we're doing. So what we put on there really, really matters. And yes, sometimes maybe people are posting whilst under the influence of substances, whether it's alcohol or drugs, but we have to take responsibility, we have to be mindful. As the people who are following and watching, we also have to take responsibility. How we comment, you know, the case where she was bullied at that time, yes, maybe we could have tackled that differently. And the case where we applaud her when she does something which is good, or maybe half as good, and so on. So we have to be careful and take responsibility that we are creating some of these behaviors. Yeah.
Also, that brings me to another thought, Doc. What about the person that is commenting, the habitual bully on social media? Because we have got so many people that are going out there and bullying people. Is it about weight? Is it about, you know, anything and everything? They bully people that, you know, post something on social media. Can you take us in the mind also of the person who is bullying? What is the reason why there is such an outbreak of bullies on social media? What are people going through that is causing them to be such bullies?
I think it's difficult. I see a lot of people commenting the right things, and, you know, supporting, encouraging people, engaging people. And then there are groups of people who sometimes don't have anything nice to say. And whether it's very difficult to know what's going on with the individual at that point in time. And with social media, it's not like a conversation where you say something, the other responds, and then you say to clarify something. You're seeing something and you can make a decision about what that means to you. And you might think that that person is annoying you or insulting you, whatever the case might be, and your response just happens like that and you leave it there. So sometimes, like, there's anything wrong with people for commenting those comments, but people maybe need to be mindful of their emotions and also what they say, and just be aware about the other people who are going to read that. Maybe becoming more emotionally intelligent and being mindful about what we're leaving behind, just to help the person who posted, but also to help the other people who are going to be reading that. I've seen people develop anxiety and even depression because of what has been written about them. And equally, I mean, like in real sort of like live bullying, physical bullying, sometimes you find that the bully has some underlying issues which they're trying to mask up, and by bullying others, they sort of get a kind of pleasure from that. So there are multiple factors to think about. It's difficult to make out what is going on with each individual bad comment.
Yeah, true, Doc. And, you know, it's very unfortunate, as you've said, because, you know, literally people are, we've heard of cases of people that have committed suicide just, you know, because they are being bullied on social media. So it's a very, very serious case that needs to be looked into seriously. And for those that are joining us on the round table talk, we are featuring lead consultant, psychiatrist, and the digital specialist from the United Kingdom. And this is Dr. Catherine Muyeba. Doc, how should society react, you know, to such a case of Mrs. Kennedy?
I can't hear you.
Should we be concerned about the mental state of the lady in question?
I didn't hear part of your question. You disappeared. Hello?
To get me?
I can hear you now.
Hello.
But you keep breaking.
Ah, excellent. So I was saying, how should society, you know, react to such a case, apart from being concerned about the child? Because obviously, right now, the entire concern is about the child. But as you said, she could be going through certain things that we don't know about. So what is your advice to us? How should we react? Because everybody has been so, you know, angered about this case, such that their only focus is the child. But you have brought a different perspective. We should try to understand what she's going through. So how exactly should we react to a person like her and those that behave the way she has behaved?
I think, like, obviously when it first happened, the first emotion was anger. But I think as you settle down, you can start seeing a different view. Giving alcohol to a child is unacceptable, and I think we've established that. It's wrong. Just like killing somebody is unacceptable and it's wrong. So even if somebody were to then say, I'm sorry, that doesn't necessarily remove that. It's there, and it's something that should be investigated. It's something that should be checked to make sure that it doesn't happen again. But we also have to look at the individual. What is going on with her? And like I've already stated, it would be helpful for her to get some kind of assessment about, you know, asking the question, you know, what's going on? What happened to you? You know, let's talk about this. And then with that careful listening and understanding and being kind, hopefully she can open up and really talk about what's happening. But then again, it could just have been a spur of the moment impulsive act because of whatever that was happening at that point in time.
Right, Doc. Now, moving away a little bit from Mrs. Kennedy and going, you know, in a broader perspective, and you have advised that, you know, this is a widespread problem and it's not just a case of Mrs. Kennedy. Now, what advice would you give the people, you know, that have a child or relative who is suffering from mental ill health? Because I think that alcohol abuse and drug abuse, which is, we have established, is rampant across the globe, brings in the aspect of mental ill health, you know, and what advice would you give, you know, the people that are having to deal with a child who is abusing drugs and later has ended up suffering from some kind of mental illness?
Okay. I think the first thing I would say that mental illness is very common. First, as a start, we all have mental health. Just like we have physical health, we have mental health. And there is no health without mental health. So it's about recognizing, just like when somebody has a broken leg, we recognize that there's a problem there and we run to help that person. Equally, our mental health can be affected. You know, we can be affected in the way that we feel, the way that we think, the way that we function, and the way that we interact with others. That can be affected to a point where we can no longer interact the way that we normally do and lead to different kind of mental health problems. So 1 in 4 people, this is what the statistics show, that 1 in 4 people have a mental health disorder or have a mental health disorder at any one given time. So that is very common. And those figures are not just from the Western world, it's also in our community in Africa. So that's how common it is. Raising awareness about it is a key point, so that we're able to see that actually this is a mental health problem. This is what we can do about it. Let's care. And for every individual who's affected by a mental health problem or a substance misuse problem, there is a family around them. There are friends around them. There is a mother who is concerned. There is a father who's concerned. There is a spouse. There's a friend. There's a son. There's a daughter who is concerned. There's a whole range of people who are concerned about that individual. So it's a community affair. It's not just up to the individual and their family. It's for all of us to take responsibility, raise awareness, and help people seek help. Because often, because of the stigma, and we look down on people and call them names, therefore people don't come out, to seek help. So if you have a child or you know somebody who has a mental health problem, let's talk. Let's talk about it. What's going on? What's happening? How are you feeling? And sometimes people always say, oh, I know, there's nothing wrong with me. But plod a little bit more. When you say you're fine, what does that mean? What is going well? And let's just be attentive and be interested and ask those questions. And there are services available in Zambia. I'm very closely linked with Psychiatrist in Zambia, and they are doing an amazing job raising awareness, going on the TV and radios and hosting events to raise awareness in the community so that we can do something about the burden of mental health issues.
Doc, 1 out of 4, people suffering from some form of mental illness or another is quite alarming. How, for instance, in my home, I've got 6 people. I live with 5 others. I am the 6th. How do I know if in that home we have anybody who has a mental, illness? How do they present? What exactly are we supposed to look out for to know if somebody is going through mental issues and yet they are, maybe not talking about it? And
you will probably know the people that you live with because you've been interacting with them for a long time. And you will probably notice when there's something different. And one of the differences could be maybe they are preferring to be on their own. Maybe they're not talking as much as they would. And maybe they are unusually sad. I mean, we all have moments of good and bad days, but this is when they are sad for longer than 2 weeks. Is that normal? Is there something going on? Maybe they are struggling to sleep at night, or they are sleeping more than usual. Maybe they are eating more than usual, or not eating at all. Maybe they are, responding to things which other people cannot see or hear, those kind of things. And maybe they're excessively nervous. They don't want to get onto the bus or go to, out or drive out. They don't want to go to school anymore, or going to work is a big chore for them. Something is different about them. And some differences are so small that you can't notice them. And that's why the importance of talking. And when you talk, even if somebody seems on the surface that they're okay, the more we talk with intention and listen, with attention, we're more likely to spot that something is different. Most of the time, we don't tend to pick up on those small differences until things are really, really bad. Maybe sometimes you see people when they're undressing on the street. And by the time it's getting to that, sometimes there has been other signals happening which we probably just haven't noticed. But there are times when it can just happen like that from nothing. But oftentimes, there are things that we can see. There are things that you can notice that's different about the people that you interact with all the time.
And at the point, and at the point when we do recognize that this family member or myself or, my neighbor is displaying strange, behavior, and they, seem to be going through some mental health issue, and we decide to take them to, for instance, here in Zambia, the common one is Chainama. hospital. When they come back, you know, it's very usual that they are discriminated against. So it becomes very difficult, I think, for people to want to you know, seek medical attention for mental health. What advice do you have for the community that you know, has somebody who is having mental health challenges in their midst?
Yeah, and I think, like I said before, it is a community affair. It is all our problem. It's not the individual's problem or the family's problem, but it's all of us. We have the responsibility to be able to look out for each other and be able to spot those signs. People start name calling, or the stigma that comes about starts because somebody else says something, then another person, and so on. Equally, if we changed what we said about mental illness and looked at it in a kind way, in a caring way, eventually we start seeing things that way. And I urge, you know, the social media, this is where it's quite good and helpful to positively influence that, so that if somebody has had a mental health problem and they have recovered from it, or even if they haven't recovered, even if they're struggling, to talk about it in a positive light, that this can happen to them as well, who have 100,000 followers, and this is how they're dealing with it. It's okay to not be okay, and we can still talk about it and help each other. So as a community, that's what we need to do. Need to educate ourselves about mental health problems, be able to see what signs to look for in each other. And if somebody is brave enough to seek help and get treatment, not to speak ill of them, they have been brave and sought help for it. Because if we don't seek help, if we don't get help, ultimately, sometimes for some people, they lose hope. They feel that life is not worth living and then commit suicide. The statistics are like one person in every 40 seconds is taking their life, you know, every second.
Yeah. Those are really, really, really alarming statistics, Doc. And we are about to wind up our discussion, and to just get your concluding remarks as we are winding up.
Yeah. I think it's been an interesting discussion, and like I said at the beginning, I just didn't want to focus on one individual because this is a broad issue and can affect anybody else. What I want to say as a main thing is that prevention is better than cure. Regarding children, let's protect them. Let's protect them and not expose them to harmful substances like alcohol when they're still young. So let's check ourselves, even ourselves when we're drinking, when we go for those parties, let's check ourselves. How much are we drinking? Are we drinking more than what is recommended? What are we drinking for? What's the association? Are we drinking for fun, or are we drowning our sorrows? And the children around us, look at that. They are watching us. They're watching us on social media. They're watching us as we live our lives. So we have to live by example and role model how we want them to grow up. And regarding mental health, it's a very, very common problem. It can affect anybody. I've seen people from all walks of life affected. It can affect me, it can affect you, it can affect other people around us. Let's be kind to each other. Let's look out for one another, identify the symptoms, and also talk about seeking help. We can do this, and we're in it together. And how we use social media, let's again be kind and make positive comments. And if we don't have very many nice things to say, maybe just stroll on and continue, but let's aim to say positive things to others. Sometimes we don't know what's behind that screen, and that one comment will be something that pushes them over the edge. So let's be kind.
Absolutely great stuff, Doctor. And I just want to take, the opportunity to thank you profoundly for having taken time off your busy schedule to just come to the table and, tackle this very important issue that is affecting society by and large. And also shout out to Dr. Sharon Kapambwe, the president of the Medical Women Association of Zambia, for her quick response. We contacted her and she quickly said, I'm bringing you an expert to tackle this very important issue, because if one is not affected by it, you know, they have a relative or somebody who is affected by it. So, Doctor, thank you so very much for coming to the roundtable discussion this afternoon.
Oh, thank you very much for having me. Let's remember to talk and let's remember to be kind.
Absolutely great stuff. And table viewers from across the globe, we featured on this Tuesday's edition of the Roundtable Talk lead consultant, a psychiatrist and addictions specialist from the United Kingdom, all the way live from the United Kingdom, Dr. Catherine Muyeba, who did a very tremendous job speaking about, you know, the issues that affect us mentally. And until Thursday, when we bring to you another exciting guest on the Roundtable Talk, my name is Nakiwe Simpungwe, your host. Good afternoon.
Who are we?